Hare Krishna, everybody, and welcome to our session for Know Your Shastras. So, the last time when we had discussed about religions, uh, we understood that there are several religions which are the words of God, which help us as a guide in this life and help us make our choices in this life, and will eventually help us go back home, back to God, right? There are different religions, and every religion has different scriptures. So, right now we are focusing on understanding the Vedas. Today we're going to do an overview of the Vedas. So, for those who have just come in, we'll do a recap that why are there so many different scriptures and religions. So, based on the time, place, and circumstance, God or his representative have provided various codes of conduct through the scriptures, and that has formed the basis of the different religions. So, the Vedas that we are going to look at today, I would like to start off by saying that they are extremely vast compared to any of the other scriptures that exist in the world. Vedas are the oldest scriptures and they are the most expansive scriptures. So today we are going to do an overview. So Vedas are compared to like an entire collection of a dictionary. Like if you see Webster's, they have like a 17-volume dictionary which explains each word, the etymology, where it's used, how it's used, like 2 pages for each word, and it goes on to 17 volumes. Besides that, Webster has also published smaller dictionaries, like a pocket dictionary or a medical dictionary or a technical dictionary. Those are smaller versions. Like pocket dictionary obviously is more concise, which you can suitably put, portably take along with you. So the content is the same. So if I pick up a word from the entire Webster collection and I pick one from, let's say, the pocket dictionary, the meaning is going to be absolutely same. It's just the length and the expanse in which it is explained will differ. So the reason I'm giving you this example of the dictionary is to understand that the Vedas can be compared to the 17-volume expansive expansive dictionary, whereas all the other scriptures, like if you see Bible and Quran, let's take an example of creation. Creation is discussed in Bible, in Quran, and in the Vedas, but in those scriptures there are just a few chapters, whereas in the Vedas creation goes on in cantos and chapters and verses. So we are going to just do an overview. The point that I've put across right now is that the Vedas are extremely expansive and extremely detailed as compared to other scriptures, and they are the oldest. So let's understand Veda. Ved comes from the root word vid, like we have Vidya or Vidvan. Vid means knowledge. It's a repository of knowledge. Some people consider only the 4 Vedas, Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharva Ved as the Vedas. But that is one understanding of Vedas. Another understanding is the Vedas, these 4 Vedas, along with the Puranas, Itihasas like Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything put together is Vedas. And the third understanding is basically any knowledge, be it spiritual, scientific, material, any knowledge finally has its source in God, and hence that also can be termed as Vedas. So we will now look at the Vedic literatures in terms of the 4 Vedas plus the Puranas, Itihasas, and other stuff in the chart. Let me just share the screen. Share Share content. Screen. Microphone on. Start broadcast. Okay. Okay, are you able to see the Vedic literatures?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures, in fact, have existed even before creation. They have creation of this universe. They have existed forever. The first person to have received this knowledge in this universe that we are in is Brahmaji. Brahmaji, when he was the first being that was created, right? He came into existence on a lotus that has had its source in the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. We'll be understanding all the different aspects of creation and Garbhodakshai Vishnu, etc., in our forthcoming sessions. But just in a nutshell, there was Garbhodakshai Vishnu who laid down on the Garbhodak ocean. From his navel came out a beautiful lotus, and at the top of the lotus was the first being created, that was Brahmaji. And when he appeared, he began to wonder, who am I? What am I doing here? What am I here for? And that's when, as the purpose of scriptures we know is to be a manual for life, since life had begun with Brahmaji, all the information of the Vedas was automatically revealed and transferred into the heart of Brahmadev. Okay, so we see here there's a transfer of knowledge that's going on. This is Brahmaji with his 4 heads. It is said that he was looking left, he was looking right, he was looking up, he was looking down. He looked in the 4 directions and he got 4 heads because he was all alone and there was darkness all around and he was wondering what his purpose was. So as we know, he's the engineer, the architect of this universe, and thereafter he did the rest of the creation, subsequent creation and population. So then we see, so in this picture also you can see there's Krishna and Krishna in the spiritual world, and he has transferred knowledge to Brahma, Brahma to, do you see Narad here? Brahma with transferred this information to Narad. Narad Muni subsequently transferred it to the next personality, and in this way the Vedic wisdom has been coming down in disciplic succession through oral reception, so through listening. So the information that got transferred to Brahmadev was not created by the mind of any human. It is apaurushaya, which means that it is created by the perfect being. It is without any faults. It is perfect. It has no imperfections. And this knowledge of Vedas, as we see, is time tested. It has come down since creation, right? So this is Srila Prabhupada, as you see here, the founder of ISKCON. And all glories to him, because of which I'd say world over, everyone has been able to, understand the essence of the Vedas, and he has, painstakingly explained it in the language of English. From Sanskrit, it's come into English, and hence all of us fortunate people are able to try to understand through his books. So we see here that before that, let me take you to this slide. So this is Vyasadeva. So we see that after Brahma and Narad, this is a more recent, after Brahma and Narad, it came to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation of God. So he was not an ordinary mortal. He was an incarnation. Krishna appeared as Vyasdev, and when Vyasdev appeared, he could foresee, he knew the past, and he could see the future, and he could know that here on, as the age of Kali Yuga comes on, there will be a tribe of people, and that's us, who will be, as given here, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya hi Upadrita. This is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a prediction about people in Kali Yuga, that's you and me. And let's see if this is true, that in the Kali Yuga, the people will be Manda, which is lazy for spiritual. It doesn't mean everyone here is lazy. People work extremely hard for, making ends meet, or for prosperity in their academics or business. But here the lazy refers to spiritual progress. So we see that, usually people are not inclined to spiritual progress. So let me just check. Madhu, how many people are logged in right now?
23.
Sorry?
23.
23. Okay. So it's a Sunday afternoon. There are many callings, many things to keep us busy. But, I thank all of you who have made time for this presentation. So usually people are drawn towards other things. They will travel all the way to go to some performance, some mall. But when it comes to spiritual inclination, sometimes we get very lazy. Next is Sumanda Matayaha. So the mind tends to be misguided. As it is, we see that the Bhagya is also Manda, because lives are short. We're supposed to live 100 years and make full use of it. But there's no telling. Life is short in Kali Yuga. And above all, if there's disturbance, so you may accept it or not, but constantly something or the other keeps disturbing our mind. So Vyasdev could see this happening. And so what he did is he compiled the Vedic knowledge. Whatever had been transferred to Brahmaji and thereafter in disciplic succession come down, he tried to sort it and organize it. It was one body of knowledge, which was like jewels, like, a mixture of all the gems and jewels in one big bag, if you can imagine. And Vyasdevji simply classified, organized, and kept it all ready for the people of Kali Yuga. So here is an overview of the Vedic knowledge. So as we see here, Vedic knowledge has two bifurcations, right? So there is Shruti and Smriti. Shruti means what was heard, nothing from our own concoction or the work of man. It is something that was revealed. It is something that was heard from God. And that is eternal knowledge that has come down. Whereas Smriti is what is composed by the sages and commentators. That has got, different people have put down, they've understood and put down what they understood from it. So now Shruti, let's take a closer look at Shruti. I have a zoom in here of Shruti. Shruti is classified for, he divided the Vedas into 4. Earlier it was just one chunk of knowledge, and he divided it into 4. So we have the 4 Vedas, which is the crux, which is Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharva Ved. The Rig Ved mainly deals with praises, hymns. There are a lot of hymns in the Rig Ved, which are praising the various personalities like Indra, Soma, Agni, Varun. You'll find lots of hymns in praising them in the Rig Ved. The Yajur Ved is mainly rituals. It is instructions on how to conduct rituals. So Rig Ved was praises. Yajur Ved is like offering something to all these personalities to please Indra, to please Varuna, to please the god, Kuber, whoever you want to please. how to do that. So there's an instruction on conducting rituals. Then Samved deals mainly with musical notes, chants, and tunes. Okay, and Atharva Ved. So, most of the music systems that we have, they have come down from Samved. And Atharva Ved is the actual, practical handling life at the physical level. All that is given in Atharva Ved. So these were the 4 Vedas. Now, basically, the Vedas, and each Veda had was given a Samhita, a Brahmana, an Aranyaka, and an Upanishad. So these are the 4 components of each Veda. So let us see. Samhita is basically a compilation of all the mantras, of all the realized hymns. Interestingly, Samhitas are meant for the brahmacharis. There are 4 ashramas, like brahmachari ashram, which is like 0 to 25 years. One is supposed to engage in study. Brahmanas is meant for grihastha life. So those who marry and spend their family life, there is a ritual explanation of mantras in the Brahmanas, how to actually practically use the mantras. Then Aranyakas corresponds to the Vanpras ashram. Aranya means forest. So, when you proceed towards the forest in a state of, weaning away from family life, this has talks about all the abstinences to follow, what all austerities are to be done. And the last is the Upanishads. Upanishads are basically like footnotes that, capture the essence of the Veda. So we understood so far that the Vedas are classified into Smriti and Shruti and Smriti. Under Shruti, which is what is heard, there are the 4 Vedas. Each Veda is got a component of a Samhita, a Brahmana, an Aranyaka, and an Upanishad. So they are for the various ashrams. Okay. So let's take a look at the next one, which is the Upavedas. Upavedas are basically they're like supplementary sheets. They're supplementary sheets to each Veda. Okay, each Veda is ascribed an Upaveda or a subsystem of knowledge. So, like we have got Rig Ved is the subsystem of Rig Ved is Ayurved, which is the study of Ayu. We all follow. So many of us are still benefiting with Ayurvedic, remedies. So Ayurved is the study of Ayu, which is ascribed to Rig Ved. Then we have Dhanurved, which is archery and warfare, which is ascribed to Yajurved. Then we have Gandharva Ved. Like remember, Samved was all about dance and music. So Gandharva Ved is also like a study of music, dance, and aesthetics. And then we have Arthashastra. Arthashastra is the study economics. Okay, and that is ascribed to Atharva Ved. Now, for all these Vedas, there is something called as Vedanga. Veda Anga. Anga means limb. So each, so these are like limbs for the Vedas. So we see here, like there is Kalpa, Shiksha, Vyakaran, Nirukta, Chandas, and Jyotish. So if you follow the Vedic, okay, let me first just help you understand. This is the, physical division of the Vedas. It has got 4 Vedas, it has got Upavedas, it has got Vedangas, and Shruti, Smriti. That is just the bifurcation. But if you generally ask, what is there in the Vedas? So Vedas basically deal with 3 topics. They are Karma Kand, Gyan Kand, and Upasna Kand. Karma Kand is simple ritualistic activities with religiosity. Karma Kand is materialism with religiosity. So somebody who has a very material mind, who just wants to enjoy, who's not at all interested in spiritual life, but just wants to enjoy material life, the Vedas offer that person an opportunity to elevate from where he is to, a few steps ahead, closer towards spiritual or transcendence. So, the Karma Kand section of the Vedas promises rewards and awards. So if you want something in your life materially, you can follow the Karma Kand section, which is mainly all the 4 Vedas. You can follow that section, follow the rituals, do the yagyas, whatever is possible, and prescribe, say those mantras, and you'll be guaranteed with, prosperity, wealth, health, whatever material gains one is looking for. So Karma Kand is mainly for those who are very materialistic. It gives them a religious, spiritual angle in its sense that they know that there is some power or some god, demigod, who's above them. They don't think that I am the enjoyer of this world and kal kisne dekha hai. Everything here is for me to enjoy and rule over. At least there's a basic understanding comes in that, okay, there's something or some power or someone higher than me. So that is Karma Kand. That is a very, very large section of the Vedas. The second is Gyan Kand. Gyan Kand is like more of the Upanishads. Those who have a philosophical mind or a philosophical standing. It helps them inquire, who am I? Where am I going? What is the purpose of life? So the Gyanis, the Vedas appeals to Gyanis as well. So somebody is beyond materialism and is more in the Gyani stage, then the Gyan Kand section of the Vedas appeals to that section. And lastly, the smallest section is Upasana Kand, which actually talks about worshipping the Lord and details about the Lord. So the reason I brought up the essence of the 3 Karma Kand, Gyan Kand, and Upasana Kand is like, if one wants to do Karma Kand, then he will need these Vedangas that we see here. He will need the Kalpa, which is ritual details. He will need Shiksha to help tell them how to pronounce the mantra. Vyakaran, the grammar. Nirukta is like a dictionary. What is the meaning? Chandas, that is the meter. When they have to say the mantra, in what meter, in what lay it has to be said. And Jyotish, which is astronomy and the actual time calculation, which is auspicious for that particular yagya, etc. So clearly, like if you want to follow Karma Kand, there are couple of things that make it quite inapplicable in today's, not inapplicable. The reason it is inapplicable is because all this knowledge has kind of faded out. Okay, and it's too difficult for us to understand Vyakaran, grammar, learn the meters, understand Jyotish. It's a very long process. And if you follow all that, you have to have, suppose you want to do a yagya, you have to have the very pure ingredients to do the yagya. Nowadays in this Kali Yuga, there's so much of adulteration. So even if you follow Karma Kand, very difficult, you'll get your desired result because the means is also adulterated and impure. And lastly, the gains that you get from following Karma Kand is temporary. You will still get materialistic gains and that will still keep you locked in this material creation. So even the means and the ends is not, superior. So let's take a look. I hope you all are able to follow. I'm not able to see if you all have any questions that because I'm sharing the screen. But if you do, please type it in. I will look at the chat history once I exit this presentation. So then we move on So we looked at this portion, right? The Shruti part. Now we will go to the Smriti part. Let's look at this. So Smriti. Smriti, like I said, is come from the minds of the sages. It is composed by the sages and the wordings may change from age to age. So in Smriti, what all is covered? There is ritual sutras, tantras, pancharatras, puranas, itihasas, and the 6 darshans. Okay. So, we can read here. I will only discuss in detail, a bit more detail is this Puranas, Itihasas, and the 6 darshans. But it's good to know the ritual sutras is the Shraut Sutras, Griya Sutras, Dharma Sutras, Dharma Shastras. Like you may have heard Manu Samhita is like a law book for mankind. That is also come from the Smriti aspect of the Shastras. And even the law books and how to do the yagyas, public yagyas, home yagyas, all that is provided here under the ritual sutras, and that is connected to Kalpa Vedanga here that you see the ritual details. Okay. Tantras is what was spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati, and the contents are meant to target tamasic people in different modes. What are these modes of nature? We will cover in our forthcoming classes, but you may have heard these terms Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic. Okay. So we see here that next is Pancharatras that deals mainly with Vaishnav worship. So how should the worship be done? It's like in the temples and all. Usually that is also prescribed. We see that temples just come up anywhere around the corner of our lane and people are just doing whatever they want. And that is the sad dilution of our actual heritage. So there is actually a description of how the worship has to happen in a temple. Next we have Puranas. So Puran matlab, so basically let me Purana explain that Puranas is something जो वेदों को पूर्ण करता है. Purana is not कि वो पुराना हो गया है. Purana means it is जो वेदों को पूर्ण करता है वो है पुराण. So this when Vyasdev he kind of classified the Vedas, he assigned each Veda, Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharva Ved to the different to his different disciples. Okay, and thereafter he also felt that this is going to be too complicated. He was because he has in the Karma Kand referred to so many Devis, Devtas that people will be confused. Who is the final supreme personality of Godhead? There will be a confusion. So he felt dissatisfied with his work, and so he improvised and he came up with the Puranas. There are 18 major Puranas and 18 minor Puranas. This we finished, right? The Kalpas, Shikshas. So Shiksha is the phonetic aspect and the accents. Kalpa is like the actual practices and applications. Vyakaran, like I said, was grammatical rules. Nirukta is Sanskrit word dictionary, right? And Chanda is the meter and Jyotish is astronomy. So we'll go to the next slide. So, okay, now we will look at this bit. Okay. So in the Puran, there are 18 major Purans. Okay. Again, the Puranas are also divided into 3 types, just like the Tantras are Tamasic, Rajasic, and Sattvic. The Puranas are not Tamasic, Rajasic, or Sattvic, but they appeal to people in the different modes. So for those who are in Tamas, I'll just read out the Puranas which are suited for those in the Tamasic mode. Just a moment. In the meanwhile, I wanted to give an example of how this knowledge is eternal. It doesn't change. Whereas if you see the knowledge about the soul, knowledge about the spiritual world, it hasn't changed. But knowledge from our own material world changes. Like Pluto was at one time considered a planet. Then a new set of astronomers, they came in and now they have dismissed Pluto as a planet. So we see that there are different theories that come up, there are different researches and findings that come up that change the material body of knowledge, but the spiritual body of knowledge is eternal and doesn't change. So let me just find out the names of the Puranas that I was about to tell you. Okay, so the Tamasic Purans, where basically Shivji is glorified, is Matsya, Kurma, Ling Puran, Shiv Puran, and Skanda and Agni Puran. The Rajasic Puran, where Brahma is glorified, is Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Markandeya Puran, Bhavishya Puran, Vaman Puran, Brahmand Puran, and Brahma Puran. Sattvic Purans we have, where Hari is glorified. Hari is Vishnu, Krishna. There's Vishnu Puran, Bhagavad Puran, Padma Puran, Naradya Puran, Garud Puran, and Varaha Puran. So there are 18 Puranas, and they are described in Brahma Vaivarta Puran to be segregated as 6 Tamasic, 6 Rajasic, and 6 Sattvic. Okay. So let me take a look. What else remains here? Itihasas. Now again, since Vyasadeva was not satisfied, he did a further revision in his work, and he came up with Itihasas. So basically Mahabharata and Ramayana, they form a major portion of the Itihasas. So basically, like, you see that it has got a lot, like almost, if you take a poll, how many of you all have read the Vedas or know about it, versus how many people have known about the pastimes of the Lord in Mahabharata and Ramayana. Obviously Ramayana and Mahabharata is more understood, more known of, more people are acquainted, who are reading it, who are learning from it, more than the Vedas. Obviously, because of the ease in understanding. So in Mahabharata, like, there is a lot of drama, there's a lot of everything, lot of things happening in Mahabharata. But at the end of it all, there is a takeaway, there is a spiritual takeaway that comes in, which is very easy and more suited for everybody to understand. So the principles are explained through the Leela. Okay. Now, we see that in these Puranas, in the Sattvic Puranas, I mentioned the Bhagavad Puran. Now, the Bhagavad Puran, just keep that in mind, because later we are going to look at some transformation that Vyasadeva ji did to the Bhagavad Puran. So we will come back to that. So we covered ritual sutras, tantras, pancharatras, puranas, itihasas, and now are the 6 darshans. So what are these 6 darshans? Basically, Vyasdev ji, he not only segregated all the information that was coming down from Brahma, but he also, composed all these Puranas, Itihasas, and along with him, there were many other sages and Maharishis who also gave their, commentary. So the difference between the commentary of Vyas, which is called Vedanta, and the commentary between the others, which is Gautam, Kannada, Patanjali, and the atheist Kapila. There are 2 Kapilas. One is the Kapil Muni, and one is an atheist Kapila who gave the Sankhya philosophy. So the difference is that Vyasdev ji's Vedanta Sutra is all about, it talks about the Supreme Person as a person, whereas Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, and Sankhya philosophies, they talk more of the abstract. Okay, they talk more of Supreme as a light or Supreme as an abstract, whereas Vyasdev ji has given the Vedanta Sutra, or also known as Brahma Sutra or Shariraka, all this based on the theology. It is theistic in nature, whereas all the others are atheistic in nature. So these are the names you can acquaint yourselves. I will share this in the group. So there's Vedanta, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, and Sankhya philosophy. Okay. So let me just take a look what else remains. This we covered 3 divisions of the Vedas: Karma Kand, which is for material elevation, which is Pravritti; Gyan Kand, which is for decreasing material involvement and increasing, the spiritual quotient, that is Nivritti; and Upasana is decreasing material involvement through worship of the Supreme. Now let's take a look at Bhagavad Gita. Where does Bhagavad Gita come in all this? So if I see this chart again, you may ask whether Bhagavad Gita falls under Smriti or does it fall under Shruti? So actually, Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a Smriti under this Itihasa section. Okay, so as we know, basically one of our Goswamis of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya has explained, Jiva Goswami has explained that in the Skanda Puran it is mentioned that 1 billion verses existed. Okay, this Vedic knowledge existed in 1 billion verses. Now, from the celestial planets, they got 1 million verses. Because obviously, in this Kali Yuga, nobody's going to be able to, even 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita are too much. We haven't even got into that. So 1 billion is too much. So it came to 1 million. Out of that 1 million also, 5 lakhs were extracted, 5 lakh verses. Out of those 5 lakh verses, 1 lakh verses were Mahabharata. And 4 lakhs were divided in Puranas and others. Okay. So now Mahabharata has 1 lakh verses, out of which, as we know, during the war of Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Those are the 700 shlokas which are a part of the 1 lakh. So Bhagavad Gita basically comes under Mahabharata, which is an itihas, which is a smriti. However, we see that there is a text in Gita Mahatmya, text 6 of Gita Mahatmya, in which Shankaracharya says, Sarvopanishado Gavo Dupta Gopalanandana Parthot Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gitamritam Mahat, which means all the Upanishads are like the cow, and the milker of the cow is Lord Shri Krishna, the son of Nanda. Arjun is the calf, the beautiful nectar of the Gita is the milk, and the fortunate devotees of fine theistic intellect are the drinkers and enjoyers of that milk. So, if you take a look at the cow, what is the main product that we derive from the cow? The essence from the cow is her milk. So, similarly, here it is said, Sarva Upanishad Gao, that means the Upanishads are like the cow. So, what is the main thing that we want to get from the Upanishad? That is the Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is like the milk, and it is the essence of the Upanishad. Hence, Gita Upanishad, Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. And like we know, the Shruti part, which came from Krishna, was spoken by Krishna. It has come from Krishna. And we know that Krishna himself in person has spoken the Bhagavad Gita. So since it has directly come from Krishna, again it meets all the criteria of a Shruti, which means it is aporosya, it is without defect, it has come from the Supreme Person, it is eternal. Hence, Bhagavad Gita has the unique position that it is a part of Smriti and Shruti. It is a part of Mahabharata as well as it is the essence of the Upanishads. So now there was many people were asking last time, how can we read the Vedas? Where can we download it? Where can we? So you might want to think again whether you really want to spend your life reading like 5 lakh verses which are in Sanskrit, and they need to be translated, and if they have, then that translation needs to be authentic. Or would you just like to take the essence, the main takeaway from this entire purpose of the Vedas? Because in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 15, text 15, Lord Krishna, Swayam Bhagwan says, Sarvasya chaham ridhi sanivishto matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarvair aham eva vedyo vedanta krit veda vid eva chaham, which is translated as, I am seated in everyone's heart, from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. Now here's the important part that I'm referring to. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta and I am the knower of the Vedas. So the final crux of this entire Veda, this entire tree, this entire forest of the Vedas is finally to know Krishna. And hence, making a start by studying the Bhagavad Gita, understanding the Bhagavad Gita, applying the Bhagavad Gita is a huge step. It will cover the entire purpose of the Vedas. So we will eventually gradually start the study of Bhagavad Gita under the Know Your Shastra series. But the point here is that the Bhagavad Gita is an exceptional you can say scripture that we have just understood in its unique exalted position. Okay, so the time is 3:50. Let me just stop the screen sharing. Madhu, can you stop the screen sharing? Stop share. Okay, I think I have done that. Okay.